I escaped from my abusive son and my daughter-in-law. I ran away with nothing, not a single dime in my pocket. When everything seemed lost, I took my late wife's old card, and the bank manager went pale. He shouted, "Sir, quick, look at this!" I froze when I discovered that she had foreseen everything. My name is Henry Sullivan, and I am 68 years old. 3 days ago, I walked out of my own house with nothing but the clothes on my back and an empty wallet. I did not take any money. I did not take any important documents. I did not even take my phone. Just one thing. My wife, Ellen's old bank card, which I had kept in the back of a drawer for 4 years, ever since she left this world. I never thought I would use it. I did not even know if it still worked. But when you reach your limit, when dignity is the only thing you have left, you do things you never imagined. I am going to tell you how I got here. How a man who built an empire from nothing ended up running from his own blood like a criminal. And how my Ellen, from wherever she is, saved me when I needed it most. But first, I need you to understand something. I am not a weak man. I never was. I was born in a small town in rural Kentucky where clean water came twice a week and opportunities never came at all. My father worked in the fields from sunrise to sunset, and still, it was barely enough for bread and beans. I was the oldest of 5 brothers. At 14, I left school because someone had to help. At 18, I came to Chicago with $20 in my pocket and a dream that many called foolish. I wanted to have my own business. I started selling tools at the Sunday flea market, used tools that I bought cheap and repaired myself. I woke up at 4 in the morning to get the best spot. I slept 3 hours a day. I ate cheap meals on the go, but I saved every penny as if it were my last. In 5 years, I gathered enough to open a small hardware store in a modest neighborhood. In 10 years, I already had 3 branches. In 20 years, I owned a chain of hardware stores across the Midwest. It was not luck. It was sacrifice. It was waking up when everyone else was sleeping. It was saying no to parties, to trips, to the luxuries others enjoyed. It was working while my friends rested. It was betting everything, even when fear told me to stop. I met Ellen when she was working as an accountant at a firm I hired for the finances of my second store. She was a serious woman, intelligent, with a look that told you the truth even if she did not open her mouth. She was not one of those who smiled just to be polite. You had to earn her smiles, and when you did, they were worth gold. It took me 6 months to convince her to go out with me. She said she did not mix work with her personal life, but I am stubborn. I brought her coffee every morning, always with 2 sugars, just the way she liked it. I asked for her opinion on business decisions, not to look good, but because I really cared what she thought. And one day, after a meeting that dragged on until 11 at night, I told her, "Ellen, if you do not have dinner with me right now, I am going to think you are afraid of me." She laughed. It was the first time I saw her laugh for real. We got married a year later. It was a simple wedding, in a small church, with 30 guests. She did not want anything flashy. She said love is not measured by the size of the party, but by the firmness of the promises. And she was right, as always. We had only one son, Richard, and that is where my biggest mistake began. Richard grew up with everything I never had. I gave him the best education, the best private schools, trips abroad, summer camps, piano lessons. I wanted him to lack nothing. I did not want him to feel the hunger I felt. I did not want him to have to work from the age of 14 like I did. I wanted to give him all the opportunities that were denied to me. But there is something I did not understand until it was too late. When you give a child everything without them striving for anything, the only thing you achieve is creating an adult who believes the world owes him everything. Richard never worked in the hardware stores. I wanted him to study, to prepare himself, to be a professional. He studied business administration at a very expensive private university. He finished his degree, but he never practiced. He said the family business was his dad's thing, and that he wanted to find himself. Ellen told him that was fine, that he had to find his own path. I supported him too, although inside I felt a pang of disappointment. Years passed. Richard had jobs that lasted months. He always had an excuse. The boss was an idiot. His coworkers were jealous. The work was boring. And he always ended up asking for money. I gave it to him. Ellen told me not to do it so much, that we were spoiling him. But I did not want him to suffer. I did not want him to go through what I went through. Grave mistake. At 32, Richard met Monica. A pretty woman, yes, but with a cold look that made me uncomfortable from the first day. Ellen noticed it too. One day she told me, "That girl does not love him. She loves what you have." I told her not to be prejudiced, that we barely knew her. But Ellen was right. Ellen was always right. They got married 6 months later. A gigantic wedding that I paid for. 300 guests. Luxury venue. Honeymoon trip to Europe. Richard was happy. Monica was too, but her happiness was different. It was the happiness of someone who just won a bet. They had 2 children, Danny and Valerie, my grandchildren. I loved them from the moment they were born. I thought everything would change with them, that Richard would mature, that he would become responsible. But no, Monica stopped working as soon as Danny was born. Richard did not work either. They lived off what I gave them, and I kept giving to them because I wanted my grandkids to have a good life. Then Ellen got sick. It was pancreatic cancer. Silent, treacherous, brutal. By the time they detected it, it was already advanced. The doctors gave us 6 months. Ellen lasted 11. 11 months of fighting with a courage that still breaks my soul to remember. Richard and Monica came to the hospital the first 2 weeks. After that, the visits became less frequent. They always had excuses. The kids were sick. They had commitments. The traffic was terrible. Ellen never complained. She said she did not want to be a burden. But I saw the pain in her eyes every time she asked for Richard and he did not arrive. The last night Ellen was conscious. She took my hand and said, "Henry, promise me something." I told her anything. "Do not let them do to you what I know they are going to try to do. Do not let them take advantage of you. You have to be stronger than your love for them." I asked her what she was talking about. She just squeezed my hand and closed her eyes. The next day, she was gone. At the funeral, Richard cried more than anyone. Monica cried too, but her tears seemed empty to me. My grandkids were confused, too young to understand that their grandmother would not return. I was broken, completely broken, and the hell began. The first months after Ellen's death were an abyss. The house felt huge and empty. Every corner reminded me of her. Her coffee cup in the cupboard, her books on the nightstand, her perfume that still floated in the closet. I did not know how to go on. The business kept running because I had good managers, but I had lost the will for everything. Richard started visiting me more often. At first, I thought it was because he worried about me. He would say, "Dad, you cannot be alone. Come live with us." I thanked him, but told him I was fine, that I needed my space to process the grief, but he insisted. "Monica, too. Father-in-law, the house is too big for you alone. We will take care of you. The kids need you close." Finally, I accepted. Not because I really wanted to, but because loneliness was killing me. I thought being close to my grandkids would help me heal. I sold the house where I lived for 30 years with Ellen and moved in with them to their house in a wealthy suburb, a house that I had helped them buy, by the way. At first, everything seemed fine. Danny and Valerie welcomed me with joy. We played. I told them stories. I took them to the park. Richard and Monica seemed attentive, but little by little, the changes started. First, it was small things. Monica asked me to give her money for groceries. I gave it to her. Then she asked for money to fix the car. I gave it to her. Then, for the kids' tuition, I gave it to her. They never paid me back. They never gave me explanations of what was spent. And when I asked, Monica looked at me with annoyance and said, "Father-in-law, are you going to mistrust us now?" Then the rules started. I could not use the living room because Monica had just cleaned. I could not cook because I made a mess. I could not turn on the television after 9 because the kids were sleeping. I could not invite friends because it was not my house. Monica told me that last part directly, without shame, one day. Richard never defended me. When I tried to talk to him, he told me that Monica was stressed, that I should understand her, that I had to be more flexible. Flexible. I, who had worked 40 years so he would not have needs, had to be flexible in the house that I helped them buy. But the worst was not the rules. The worst was the treatment. Monica started speaking to me with contempt. If I asked her for something, she sighed as if it were a huge burden. If I gave an opinion on anything, she said, father-in-law, just let us live our life. If I wanted to spend time with my grandkids, she told me not to upset them, that they had homework, that they had activities. Richard spoke to me less and less. He spent his time on his cell phone or watching television. When I asked him how he was doing, he answered with single words. When I reminded him that we needed to talk about the business, he said later, always later. And the kids started to change too. Danny, who used to run to hug me when I arrived, now ignored me. Valerie, who asked me to read her stories, now told me that her mom read better. I saw how Monica whispered things in their ears when I was close, how she taught them to see me differently. One day I heard Monica talking on the phone with her mother. She was in the kitchen. I was passing through the hallway. I heard her say, "Do not worry, Mom. The old man is not going to last long. And when he is gone, everything of his will be Richard's. Ours." I almost convinced him to sign some papers. I froze. I could not believe what I was hearing. But it was real, very real. That night I tried to talk to Richard. I told him we needed to have a serious conversation. He told me he was tired. I told him it was urgent. He got angry. He shouted at me, "Dad, enough. It is always the same with you, always demanding attention. You are no longer the center of the universe." I was left speechless. My son, my only son, the son for whom I sacrificed everything, was shouting at me as if I were a hindrance. Monica came out of the room and told me with a fake smile, "Father-in-law, better go to sleep. Richard is very stressed about work." Work? Richard did not work. He lived off my money. That night I could not sleep. I thought of Ellen, of her last words. "Do not let them take advantage of you." She knew. She always knew. The next morning, Monica entered my room without knocking. She told me they needed me to sign some documents, notary papers. She said it was to speed up the inheritance when I was gone. That way everything would be easier for Richard and the kids, that it was for the best. I told her I was not going to sign anything without my lawyer reviewing it first. She became furious. She told me that I mistrusted them, that I was ungrateful, that after everything they did for me, I paid them with suspicion. I told her to leave me alone. She left, slamming the door. That afternoon, when I returned from a medical appointment, I found my room turned upside down. They had searched through my things. My documents were messy. My wallet was open. Papers were missing. Important papers. I went down to the living room. Richard and Monica were there. I asked them what had happened. Monica told me she had cleaned. I told her documents were missing. She told me I was confused, that surely I had lost them myself. Richard looked at me and said, "Dad, you are getting old. Sometimes memory fails." I felt something break inside me. It was not the Richard I knew, or maybe it was, and I never wanted to see it. That night, during dinner, Monica served me food as if she were throwing away scraps. Danny and Valerie did not even look at me. Richard ate in silence, without looking up from his plate. I tried to talk to them. I asked them how school went. No one answered. Monica told Danny, "Honey, you are done. You can go to your room." And everyone left. They left me alone at the table. I was no longer part of the family. I was a nuisance, an old man who was only useful for giving money, and I had to get out of there. I started planning in silence. I could not let them know I was leaving. I checked my bank accounts from my computer. Richard had access to 2 of my accounts because, years ago, I had given him authorization to help me with payments when Ellen was sick. I never removed that access. Another mistake. I discovered they had been taking money out without my knowledge. Large amounts, hundreds of thousands of dollars in the last 6 months, transfers to accounts I did not recognize, huge purchases with my cards. I called the bank. They confirmed that the operations were legal because Richard had authorization. I felt betrayed, robbed by my own blood. I tried to block the accounts. The bank told me I needed to show up in person with official identification. I looked for my ID. It was not there. I looked for my passport. Neither. I checked my whole room. Nothing. They had stolen my documents. I confronted Richard. He pretended not to understand. Monica told me I was paranoid, that no one had touched anything, that surely I lost them and was blaming them. That night I heard voices in the living room. I went down quietly. Richard and Monica were talking to someone on a video call. A lawyer, from what I could understand. I heard fragments. Mental incapacity, senile dementia, interdiction asset control. They were planning to declare me incompetent to keep everything. My heart pounded in my chest so hard I thought I was going to have a heart attack right there. But I could not make noise. They could not know I had discovered them. I went up to my room. My hands were shaking. I needed to get out of there. Now. But I had no cash. I had no documents. I had no cards that worked because Richard had blocked them or because they had emptied them. Where would I go? How would I survive? Then I remembered something. Something I had kept and forgotten for 4 years. After Ellen passed away, I kept all her personal things in a box. Her watch, her earrings, her notebooks, her photos, and her wallet. A brown leather wallet she used every day. I never opened it. I couldn't. It was too painful. But that night I took it out from the back of the closet. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside was her ID, a photo of us on vacation, a note I had written to her years ago, and a bank card. It was a debit card from an account Ellen had before we got married. She never closed it. We never talked about that account. I did not even know if it still existed. The card was expired on the printed date, but sometimes banks renew them automatically. Sometimes they keep working if the account is still active. It was my only chance. That early morning, at 4 a.m., when everyone was sleeping, I packed a small backpack with some clothes. I took Ellen's wallet with the card inside, and I left that house without making a noise. I closed the door slowly. I walked down the dark street of the wealthy suburb, not knowing exactly where to go. I had no plan. I had no money. I had nothing but the hope that this old card would serve for something. I walked for 2 hours. I reached the city center. I saw an ATM. My heart was beating so fast I felt it was going to explode. I inserted the card. The screen lit up. Enter your PIN. I did not know the PIN. Ellen never told me. I thought of important dates. I tried our wedding anniversary. Incorrect. I tried Richard's birth date. Incorrect. I tried my birth date. The screen changed. Welcome. I could not believe it. It worked. The card worked. I selected check balance, and what I saw left me breathless. There was money. A lot of money. More than $500,000. How? From where? Ellen never mentioned this account. We never talked about this money. What was this? At that moment I did not understand anything, but I took out $100 from the ATM. The money came out. I took it with trembling hands. It was real. I felt like crying. Ellen was taking care of me. Even after 4 years. She was saving me. But I needed answers. I needed to know where that money came from. And I needed a safe place to stay. I looked for a nearby hotel. I found a discreet one downtown. I paid in cash. The receptionist looked at me strangely because I arrived without luggage, just with a backpack at 7 in the morning. But she said nothing. I went up to the room. I sat on the bed, and for the first time in months, I breathed easily. But I knew this was just beginning. I spent 2 days locked in that hotel, trying to understand what to do. I ate little. I slept less. Every time I heard steps in the hallway, I thought it was Richard, that he had found me, that they were coming for me. I needed to go to the bank. I needed to talk to someone who could explain what that account was. But I was afraid. Afraid that upon presenting myself, they would tell me it was a mistake, that the money was not mine, that they were going to block it. On the 3rd day, I gathered courage. I showered. I put on the most presentable clothes I had in the backpack, and I left the hotel. I searched on the internet for the main branch of Ellen's card bank. It was in the financial district. I took a cab. During the whole ride, my mind did not stop. What if Richard had already reported my disappearance? What if they were looking for me? What if they invented that I had attacked them or stolen something? Monica was capable of that, and more. I arrived at the bank. It was a large, modern building, full of people. I passed through the glass door and approached a customer service executive. I told her I needed information about an account. She asked for identification. I showed her my old ID that I had managed to recover from my drawer before leaving the house. I gave her Ellen's card. The executive checked the card. She typed on her computer. Her expression changed. She frowned. She typed again. She looked at me strangely. "Sir, "Excuse me, is this account yours?" I explained it was my wife's, that she had passed away 4 years ago, that I found the card and apparently it still had money, that I needed to know what was happening with that account. She asked me to wait a moment. She got up and went to speak with someone else, another executive, then with another. The three of them looked at me from afar. I felt panic. I thought they would call security, that they would accuse me of fraud. Finally, a man in a blue suit approached. He was the branch manager. "Mr. Sullivan, right? Come with me, please." He took me to a private office. He closed the door. He sat in front of me. He looked at me intently. "Sir, I need you to confirm something for me. Are you Henry Sullivan, husband of Ellen Sullivan?" I told him yes. He opened a folder. He took out some documents. And what he told me changed everything. "Mr. Sullivan, your wife left very specific instructions regarding this account. Instructions that were to be executed only if you presented yourself personally at the bank. She anticipated that this could happen. She foresaw everything." I was left speechless. The manager continued. "This account was created by your wife 7 years ago. She deposited money monthly for 5 years, money that came from a percentage of the profits of the business that you gave her as her share in the company finances. She never touched it. She saved it. She invested it with the help of one of our financial advisors. And she left precise instructions." He showed me a sealed envelope. It had my name written in Ellen's handwriting. "She left this for you. She said to only give it to you if you came alone, without your son, and with this specific card. She said that if that moment arrived, it meant you were in danger, and that you would need this to defend yourself." I opened the envelope with trembling hands. Inside was a letter, with Ellen's perfect handwriting. I started reading. "My love, if you are reading this, it is because what I feared most finally happened. It is because Richard and that woman betrayed you. It is because you are alone. Forgive me for not being clearer when I was with you. Forgive me for not being tougher on our son. But it is never easy to accept that your own blood can be your worst enemy. This money is yours. It is ours. I kept it secret because I knew someday you would need it. I knew Richard would not change, that Monica would poison him, that they would try to take everything from you. Do not let them do it, Henry. Do not let them destroy you. In this account, there is enough money for you to start over, for you to defend yourself, for you to recover your dignity. Use this money wisely. Hire the best lawyer you can find. Protect your assets. And please, my love, do not forgive the unforgivable just because they are family. Blood does not justify betrayal. Love does not justify abuse. You taught me to be strong. Now I ask you to be stronger than you have ever been. For you, for me, for what we built together. I love you. I always loved you. And from wherever I am going to take care of you. Yours forever, Ellen." Tears rolled down my cheeks without me being able to stop them. The manager remained silent. I think he was moved too. After a moment, he said, "Mr. Sullivan, your wife also left instructions that, if you presented yourself, we were to help you with everything you needed. Legal advice, financial, whatever you require. What do you need?" What I needed was justice. What I needed was to get my life back. What I needed was for Richard and Monica to pay for what they had done to me. And now I had the means to do it. I told the manager, "I need a lawyer, the best one you can get. I need to regain control of my companies. I need to protect my assets. And I need my son to know that his father is not the stupid old man he believes." The manager nodded. He told me he knew a law firm specializing in family and property law. He took out his phone and called right there. He spoke with someone. He explained the situation in general terms. He hung up and told me, "They can see you today at 3 in the afternoon." I accepted. I left the bank with Ellen's letter pressed against my chest. I felt something I had not felt in a long time. Hope and something else. Fury. A cold fury. Calculated. The fury of a man who has nothing left to lose and everything to recover. Richard and Monica thought they had defeated me. They thought I was a weak old man who would let himself be trampled until death. But they were wrong, and I was going to teach them that respect is not begged for, it is commanded. At 3 o'clock sharp, I was sitting in the boardroom of the most prestigious law firm in the city. The building was a skyscraper, all glass and steel, with an impressive view, the kind of place I had never needed to go to, because I always solved my problems with honest work and a firm word. But now things were different. Now I was at war against my own blood. The lawyer who attended me was named Danielle Owens. She was about 40, impeccable suit, gaze sharp as a knife. She shook my hand firmly and invited me to sit. She did not waste time on unnecessary pleasantries. "Mr. Sullivan, the bank manager gave me a general overview of your situation, but I need you to tell me everything from the beginning, in detail, omitting nothing, no matter how painful. Only then can I truly help you." And I told her everything, from Ellen's death to my escape from the house, from Richard's thefts to the plans to declare me incompetent. I showed her Ellen's letter. I gave her my bank account numbers. I explained how they had taken my documents, how they treated me, how they planned to keep everything. Danielle took notes on her tablet. She did not interrupt me once. When I finished, she remained silent for a few seconds, as if processing all the information. Then she looked me straight in the eye. "Mr. Sullivan, what you just told me is serious. Very serious. We are talking about fraud, asset abuse, possible fraudulent interdiction plan, and what is legally known as economic and psychological violence. Your son and daughter-in-law could face criminal charges if we decide to go that route." I asked her what she recommended I do. "First, we are going to protect your assets. Today, we are going to revoke all powers of attorney you may have granted to your son. We are going to block the bank accounts where he has access. We are going to freeze any pending operations. We are going to make a complete inventory of your goods and properties to ensure he hasn't sold or transferred anything without your knowledge." I nodded. That was exactly what I needed. "Second, we are going to request certified copies of all your official documents. ID, passport. If they have the originals, we are going to invalidate them and get new ones. You are going to regain total control of your identity." I felt a huge relief. Finally, someone was on my side. "Third, we are going to document everything. All unauthorized transfers, all fraudulent expenses, everything. We are going to build a solid case. And when we are ready, we are going to file a civil lawsuit to recover the money they stole from you. If you want, we can also proceed criminally." I told her yes, that I wanted justice, that I wanted to recover everything they had taken from me. Danielle nodded. "There is something else you need to know. If your son planned to declare you incompetent, he probably already started the legal process. We are going to investigate if there is any interdiction lawsuit against you. If there is, we are going to fight it. We are going to prove that you are in full possession of your mental faculties. We are going to sink that plan before it prospers." She explained that we would need psychological and medical evaluations to prove my mental capacity. She told me she knew the best experts in the country, that I should not worry, that we were going to win this. For the first time in months, I felt that someone was really listening to me, that someone believed me, that someone was going to fight for me. "Mr. Sullivan, this is going to be tough. Your son is going to counterattack. He is going to invent things. He is going to try to make you look like the bad guy in the story. He is going to say you are a cruel father, that you abandoned them, that you are senile. Are you prepared for that?" I held her gaze and said, "Counselor, I built an empire selling nails at a flea market. I worked 18 hours a day for 30 years. I watched the woman of my life die while my son was absent. I am no longer afraid. The only thing I want is for this to end well. For me, not for them." Danielle smiled, a small but genuine smile. "Then we are going to win this." That same afternoon we went to the bank. Danielle brought a notary. In 2 hours we revoked all the powers I had granted to Richard. We canceled his access to my accounts. We blocked the cards he had. We changed passwords. We changed codes. I regained absolute control of my money. The bank manager informed me that in the last 6 months Richard had withdrawn almost $200,000 from my accounts. $200,000. Money that I earned with my sweat and that he spent as if it were water. On what? I did not know, but Danielle said we would find out. I also discovered something disturbing. Richard had tried to request a loan in my name, a mortgage loan for $1 million using one of my properties as collateral. The bank had rejected the application because documents were missing, but the fact that he had tried left me frozen. He was willing to put me in debt without my consent, to sink my assets, all to keep maintaining his luxury life without working. I felt a mixture of sadness and rage. This was not the son I raised. Or maybe he was, and I never wanted to see it. We left the bank, and Danielle took me to a private investigator's office. She said we needed to know exactly what Richard had spent my money on. Where had he used it? With whom? We also needed to know if there were more plans against me, if he had spoken to more lawyers, if he had forged documents. The investigator was a serious man, about 50 years old, ex-police detective. He assured me that in a week he would have a full report. I gave him all the information I had: names, addresses, account numbers, dates, everything. When we left there, it was already 8 at night. Danielle asked me where I was staying. I told her at a hotel downtown. She told me it was not a good idea. That if Richard was looking for me, hotels were the first places he would investigate. She recommended a furnished apartment the firm had for clients who needed temporary protection. I accepted without thinking twice. The apartment was in a nice, quiet area. It was small, but comfortable. Safe. Danielle gave me the keys and told me to rest. That tomorrow the hardest part would begin. That night I stayed alone in that unknown apartment, looking at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had happened, thinking about Ellen, about her letter, about how she had seen it all with such clarity while I refused to accept it. I took out the letter and read it again. The words hurt me, but they also gave me strength. Do not forgive the unforgivable just because they are family. She was right. She was always right. I wondered where Richard would be at that moment, if he had noticed my absence, if he even cared. Probably not. Probably he was celebrating, thinking that, finally, he had gotten rid of the annoying old man. But tomorrow he was going to get a surprise. The next day, at 9 in the morning, Danielle called me. Her voice sounded tense. Mr. Sullivan, I need you to come to my office immediately. We found something. I arrived in 20 minutes. I entered her office and saw she was accompanied by the private investigator. On the table lay a folder full of documents and photographs. Mr. Sullivan, sit down, please, Danielle told me. Her tone was grave. I sat down. The investigator opened the folder. Sir, in less than 24 hours we managed to track your son's movements, and what we found is worse than we imagined. He showed me bank statements. Richard had spent my money on trips abroad. Miami, Las Vegas, resorts, 5-star hotels, expensive restaurants. He had bought a new car, a brand new BMW. He had paid the tuition for an exclusive private school for my grandkids. But he had also spent on designer clothes, jewelry, electronics. But that was not the worst. The investigator showed me some photographs. Richard in an elegant restaurant. But he was not with Monica. He was with another woman, a young woman, about 30 years old. They were kissing, hugging, looking happy. I felt like I was running out of air. There is more, said the investigator. He showed me more photos. Richard entering an apartment in the city with that woman, leaving together. Richard had bought her expensive gifts. With my money, with the money he stole from me. Mr. Sullivan, your son is having an extramarital affair, and he is using the money he took from you to support this woman. He bought her a car. He pays the rent for the apartment. He buys her clothes. She is his mistress. And Monica has no idea, or at least that is how it seems. I was in shock. I could not process all this. Richard was not only stealing from me, he was not only mistreating me, he was also cheating on his wife, the mother of my grandkids, the man in whom I had put all my trust, all my love, all my hope. He was a liar, a thief, and a traitor in every possible sense. Danielle spoke with a firm voice. Mr. Sullivan, this changes everything. Now we have overwhelming evidence of fraud and misuse of your money. We have proof that your son used it for personal ends completely unrelated to the family needs he claimed. This strengthens our lawsuit enormously. I asked if Monica knew anything about this. The investigator said it did not seem so, that Monica was still in the house with the kids, that apparently she lived in her bubble of luxury without realizing her husband was cheating on her. I felt something strange, something I did not expect to feel, a pinch of pity for Monica. She was a snake, yes. She had treated me badly. She had stolen from me. She had poisoned my grandkids against me. But she was also a victim of Richard. She was also being deceived. But my pity did not last long, because the investigator showed me something else. Mr. Sullivan, There is one other thing. We found communications between Monica and her family, specifically with her brother, a guy named George Miller. That man has a criminal record, fraud, extortion. He was in jail 5 years ago, and now he is advising Monica on how to keep your assets. He showed me screenshots of text messages. The investigator had managed to access the cloud backup of one of the phones. The messages were clear. George told Monica how to manipulate me, how to make me sign documents, how to declare me incompetent. He told her that if I did not cooperate, there were other ways to solve the problem. My heart beat uncontrollably. Other ways. What did that mean? Did they want to physically harm me? Did they want to lock me up somewhere? Danielle put a hand on my shoulder. Mr. Sullivan, this is no longer just asset fraud. This could be conspiracy to commit a serious crime. We need to act now. We need to protect you, and we need to report this to the authorities. I told her yes, to do whatever she had to do. That same afternoon, Danielle filed a formal complaint with the prosecutor's office. Fraud, asset abuse, conspiracy. She also requested a temporary restraining order so that Richard, Monica, and her brother could not approach me or my properties. We presented all the evidence, the bank statements, the photographs, the messages, everything. The district attorney accepted the complaint and opened an investigation file. Danielle explained that the process would be long, that there would be hearings, that Richard would hire lawyers, that it would be a complicated legal battle, but that we had everything to win. I just nodded. There was no turning back. The war had officially begun. That night, I could not sleep. I spent it thinking about Danny and Valerie. My grandkids, they were not to blame for anything. They were innocent. What was going to happen to them? How was all this going to affect them? Would they hate me? Would they think I was the bad guy? I missed hugging them. I missed their laughter. I missed reading them stories before bed. But Monica and Richard had used them as weapons against me. They had alienated them from me. They had poisoned them. And that, more than the stolen money, more than the mistreatment, more than everything, was what hurt me the most. But I could not let that pain stop me. I had to keep going. For my dignity. For Ellen. For the memory of everything we built together. The next morning Danielle called me early. Mr. Sullivan, Richard already knows. He already received the notification of the lawsuit, and he is furious. I asked her how she knew. She told me that Richard's lawyer had already communicated with her, that they wanted to negotiate, that Richard was willing to return part of the money if I withdrew the lawsuit. I asked her what she had answered. She told me she had said there was nothing to negotiate, that this would go to the ultimate consequences. But there is something else, Danielle added. Richard says you are a bad father, that you abandoned him emotionally all his life, that you only cared about money and work. That is why he is the way he is. He is trying to flip the narrative, to play the victim. Those words hurt me. They hurt a lot, because there was some truth in them. I did work too much. I did miss important moments of Richard's childhood. I did prioritize the business many times. But I did it for him, to give him a future, to give him opportunities. But did that justify what he had done to me? Did that justify the theft, the abuse, the betrayal? No, it did not justify it. I told Danielle to move forward, that I would not withdraw anything, that Richard face the consequences of his actions. That afternoon I received a text message from an unknown number. It was Richard. Dad, what did you do? Why did you sue me? Why are you doing this to me? I am your son, your only son. Are you really going to destroy me for money? Is that what Mom taught you? To be cruel to your own family. I read the message several times. I felt rage, pure rage. How did he dare mention Ellen? How did he dare use her to manipulate me? He, who was not there when she needed him most. He, who let her die alone while I was the only one taking care of her. I did not reply. I blocked the number, but the messages kept coming, from other numbers, from Monica's phone, from numbers I did not recognize, all with the same tone, pleading, manipulation, veiled threats. Dad, the kids miss you. They ask for you. Dad, Monica is devastated. She says you are a monster. Dad, you are going to regret it. You are going to end up alone, without family, without anyone. I blocked all the numbers. I told Danielle what was happening. She documented everything. She said that played in our favor, that it showed harassment, that it showed they knew they were wrong and were desperate. A week later, we had the first hearing. It was a preliminary hearing to review the precautionary measures. Danielle accompanied me. We entered the room, and there was Richard. I had not seen him since I escaped from his house. He looked different, thinner, deep dark circles, wrinkled suit. Monica was by his side, with a funeral face. His lawyer was a young, nervous guy, who clearly was not prepared to face someone like Danielle. Richard looked at me. I held his gaze. I did not look away. I was not going to give him that satisfaction. The judge entered. The hearing began. Richard's lawyer argued that I was being vindictive, that I had misinterpreted my son's actions, that the money withdrawn from the accounts was for legitimate family expenses, that I had given them verbal permission, that now I was regretting it and using the legal system to punish my son. Danielle destroyed him. She presented the bank statements, the photos of the mistress, the messages between Monica and her criminal brother, the attempts to request loans in my name, the plans to declare me incompetent, everything. Richard's lawyer went pale. Richard clenched his fists. Monica started crying. But they were not real tears. They were acting tears, of manipulation. The judge reviewed the evidence in silence. Finally, he spoke. "Counselor, the evidence presented by the plaintiff is overwhelming. I am going to maintain the precautionary measures. Mr. Richard Sullivan will not be able to approach his father or the plaintiff's properties. The bank accounts will remain blocked for him, and a formal investigation is opened for the reported crimes." Richard exploded. He stood up and shouted at me. "This is your fault. You forced us. You never gave us anything without conditions. It was always your money, your business, your power. You never trusted me. That is why I had to take what was rightfully mine." The judge ordered him to be silent or they would remove him from the room. Richard sat down, shaking with rage. We left the room. Danielle told me everything had gone well, that we had won the first battle, that things looked favorable. But I did not feel victory. I only felt a huge emptiness, because the man who shouted those things in the room was not the son I remembered. Or maybe he was, and I never wanted to see it for real. The following days were a whirlwind. Danielle filed more lawsuits. Civil lawsuit to recover the stolen money. Divorce lawsuit in Monica's name against Richard, using the infidelity evidence to pressure them. No, wait. Not that. I was not going to get involved in their marriage. But Danielle did send Monica a copy of the photographs of Richard with his mistress, anonymously. 2 days later, Monica showed up at Danielle's office, alone, without Richard, with eyes swollen from crying. Danielle called me. She asked me if I wanted to be present at the meeting. I told her yes. When I entered the boardroom, Monica saw me and looked away. She could not look me in the eye. Danielle spoke first. "Mrs. Monica, why have you come?" Monica wiped her tears. She spoke with a broken voice. "I come to apologize to my father-in-law. I come to tell him that I knew nothing of what Richard was doing, that I thought the money we spent was ours, that he told me Mr. Henry gave him permission for everything. I did not know about the mistress. I did not know about his brother's plans. My brother George acted behind my back. I did not authorize it." I stared at her. I did not believe a word. Danielle neither. "Mrs. Monica, we have proof that you actively participated in the plans to declare Mr. Sullivan incompetent. We have your messages." Monica shook her head. "Those messages were misinterpreted. I was only talking to my brother about how to help my father-in-law, because he was very depressed after my mother-in-law died. We thought he needed professional help. We never wanted to hurt him. Never. Lies. All lies." I interrupted her. "Monica, I heard you that night talking on the phone with your mother. You said I was not going to last long, that when I was gone everything would be yours. You said you almost convinced me to sign papers. Do not dare tell me you knew nothing." Monica fell silent. "Caught." Finally, she spoke with a harder voice. "Okay. Yes. Yes, I said it. Because I was fed up. Fed up with pretending I cared. Fed up with taking care of a bitter old man who spent his time complaining. Fed up that Richard never had his own money because you always controlled everything. What did you expect? That we adore you after how you treated Richard? You never valued him. You never believed in him. That is why he is the way he is." Danielle intervened. "Mrs. Monica, I suggest you leave and get your own lawyer because you are also going to be sued." Monica looked at me with hatred. Pure hatred. She got up and left, slamming the door. When she left, I stayed sitting in silence. Danielle asked me if I was okay. I told her yes, although it was not true, because a part of me kept asking myself, was she right? Was I a bad father? Did I create this monster? Danielle seemed to read my mind. "Mr. Sullivan, do not blame yourself. You did what you could. You gave them everything. The fact that they did not value it is not your fault. It is theirs. There are people who are never satisfied, who always want more, who believe the world owes them everything. And your son is one of those people." Her words comforted me a little, but the pain was still there. The private investigator kept working, and a week later he brought me more information. Information that broke me completely. It turns out that George, Monica's brother, had contacts with dangerous people. People who dedicated themselves to scamming the elderly. His plan was to declare me incompetent, keep my money, and then make me disappear. Take me to a clandestine nursing home where no one could find me, where I would live my last days locked up, medicated, forgotten. And Monica knew it. Richard, too. When I heard that, I felt the floor opening under my feet. My own son was willing to do that to me, to lock me up like an animal, to steal not only my money, but my freedom, my dignity, my life. Danielle presented this new information to the prosecutor's office. The case became much more serious. Now it was not just fraud. It was attempted illegal deprivation of liberty. It was a crime that could lead Richard, Monica, and George to jail for years. And I, instead of feeling satisfaction, only felt an immense emptiness. Because my son, the boy I carried in my arms, the boy who hugged me and told me I was his hero, had turned into someone capable of destroying me without remorse. Ellen knew it. That is why she left that letter. That is why she prepared me for this, because she saw what I did not want to see. That night, alone in the apartment, I took out an old photo, a photo from when Richard was 5 years old. We were at the park. He was on my shoulders, smiling, with his arms open as if he were flying. I was smiling too. We were happy. At what moment did everything break? At what moment did I lose my son? Or maybe I never really had him. Maybe I only had the illusion of a son, and the reality was this: a man who saw me as an obstacle, as a source of money, as something to eliminate. I put away the photo, and I made a decision. I was not going to stop. I was not going to forgive. I was not going to be weak. I was going to go to the end, even if that meant destroying my own blood, because there was something more important than family, something Ellen taught me and that I had forgotten: dignity. And I was going to recover mine, whatever the cost. The next day I met with Danielle and the full team of lawyers. It was time to go on the offensive. We were no longer just going to defend ourselves. We were going to attack with everything. "Mr. Sullivan," Danielle told me with determination, "it is time to recover what is yours. We are going for your companies, for your properties, and we are going to make sure Richard cannot touch absolutely anything." I asked her what the exact plan was. "First, we are going to completely restructure the ownership of your businesses. We are going to create an armored trust where you are the only beneficiary. Then we are going to remove Richard from any role he has in the companies, even symbolic. And finally, we are going to change your will." That last part hit me hard. Changing my will meant accepting that Richard was no longer my heir, that my grandkids would not receive anything either. It was a final decision. No turning back. "Mr. Sullivan," Danielle continued, "you are not obligated to leave anything to someone who betrayed you. The law allows you to disinherit for serious causes, and you have all the causes in the world: mistreatment, fraud, attempted deprivation of liberty. A judge would validate your decision without problem." I took a deep breath. I thought about Danny and Valerie. They were not to blame, but their parents were raising them to be the same, to see me as a bank, not as a grandfather, not as family. "There is another option," Danielle added. "You can create a trust for your grandkids that they can only access when they turn 25, and with conditions: that they finish a university degree." that they work, that they demonstrate responsibility. That way, you protect your assets, but you also give them a chance to be different from their parents. I liked that. It was fair. It was dignified. And it gave hope to my grandkids to get out of the poison they were growing up in. Let's do it like that, I told her. During the following days, we worked non-stop. We signed documents. We restructured everything. The notary witnessed every step. Danielle made sure everything was legal, solid, unassailable. Richard had no idea what we were doing. He was still in his bubble, hiring mediocre lawyers, inventing excuses, trying to play the victim on social media. Yes, because now he had decided to take everything public. One day they sent me screenshots. Richard had posted a long letter on Facebook. My father abandoned me emotionally all my life. He only cared about money. Now that I asked him for financial help for my children, he sued me. He accuses me of horrible things. He is trying to destroy his own family. I ask you to pray for him. He is sick. He is old. He does not know what he is doing. The post had hundreds of comments. Some supported Richard. Others questioned him. Some insulted me without knowing me. It was a media circus. Danielle advised me not to respond. Silence is power. You do not need to defend yourself on social media. You defend yourself in court, with evidence, with facts. Let him sink alone with his lies. She was right, but it hurt. It hurt to see how my son defamed me publicly, how he invented a narrative where he was the victim and I the villain. But there was no turning back. 2 weeks later, the key day arrived. The final hearing to determine if the criminal process against Richard, Monica, and George proceeded. We arrived early at the courthouse. Danielle carried 3 huge folders full of evidence. I carried the weight of 68 years of life and the sadness of a betrayed father. We entered the room. Richard was already there, Monica too. And for the first time I saw George, her brother, a guy about 40 with an unfriendly face, tattoos on his arms, cloudy gaze. That was the guy who had planned to lock me up in a clandestine nursing home. The judge entered. She was a serious woman, about 55, with a reputation for being tough but fair. The hearing began. The prosecutor presented the case. He read all the crimes: fraud, asset abuse, conspiracy for illegal deprivation of liberty, forgery of documents. The evidence was presented one by one: the bank statements, the photographs, the messages, the testimonies of the bank employees, the psychological expert reports proving I was in full possession of my mental faculties. Richard's lawyer tried to argue that everything was a misunderstanding, that I had given verbal permissions, that there was no proof of criminal intent. Danielle destroyed him. She showed the messages where Monica and George planned to take me to a nursing home. She showed the millionaire transfers Richard made to his mistress's accounts. She showed the attempts to request fraudulent loans in my name. Your Honor, Danielle said with a firm voice, we are facing a clear case of asset and psychological violence against an elderly adult. Mr. Henry Sullivan was a victim of systematic abuse by his own son, his daughter-in-law, and her brother. They planned to strip him of his assets, his freedom, and his dignity, and they would have succeeded if Mr. Sullivan had not had the courage to escape and report it. The judge reviewed everything in silence. Finally, she spoke. I have reviewed the evidence presented, and it is overwhelming. Hello. I'm delighted to assist you with our voice services. Choose a voice that resonates with you, and let's begin our creative audio journey together. Hello. I'm delighted to assist you with our voice services. Choose a voice that resonates with you, and let's begin our creative audio journey together. Danny, your dad made mistakes, serious mistakes, and now he has to face the consequences. But you are bad, Grandpa. Mom says you are bad, that you want to take everything from us, that because of you we are going to lose the house. I felt my heart breaking. Danny, listen to me well. I have never wanted to hurt you. I only want to recover what is mine, what I worked for all my life. Your parents made wrong decisions. I am only defending myself. Why don't you come to the house, Grandpa? I miss you. Valerie misses you too. Tears rolled down my cheeks. I miss you too, son. Very much, but now I cannot go. Do you not love us any more? I love you more than anything in the world. Never forget it. Never. The call cut off. I stayed with the phone in my hand, crying like I had not cried since Ellen's death. My grandkids missed me, but their parents were using them. They were manipulating them, and I could not do anything to protect them from that. Or maybe I could. The next morning I called Danielle. I told her I wanted to do something else. Something that perhaps was crazy, but that I felt I had to do. I want to request temporary custody of my grandkids. Danielle remained silent for a few seconds. Mr. Sullivan, that is very complicated. The parents would have to be declared unfit, and although we have proof that they are bad people, that does not automatically mean they are bad parents before the law. But we can try, right? We can, but it will be another battle, another war. Are you sure you want to keep fighting? I thought about Danny, about Valerie, about how they called me Grandpa with affection when they were little, about how they hugged me, about how they trusted me. I am sure. And so began the next phase of my fight. Because I was not fighting just for money. I was fighting for dignity, for justice, and to save my grandkids from becoming what their parents already were, even if that cost me everything. The following months were the most difficult of my life. The legal battle for the custody of my grandkids turned into something brutal. Richard and Monica hired the best lawyers they could pay with the little money they had left. They accused me of everything, of being an absent grandfather, of wanting revenge, of using the children as a weapon. But Danielle did not give up. We presented evidence of Richard's emotional instability, of his lies, of his infidelity, of the toxic environment in which Danny and Valerie lived. We asked for psychological evaluations for everyone. We asked that the children be heard by the judge. And finally, the day of the definitive hearing arrived. The judge listened to the testimonies, spoke with Danny and Valerie in private. The children told him the truth, that they missed their grandfather, that their parents fought all the time, that they heard shouting, that they were afraid. When the judge returned to the room, his expression was serious. I have made a decision. I am not going to grant full custody to Mr. Sullivan because the children need stability and such a drastic change is not convenient. But I am going to grant a broad visitation regime. Mr. Sullivan will be able to see his grandkids every weekend, and Mr. Richard and Monica must submit to mandatory family therapy. It was not everything I wanted, but it was a start. It was an open door. Richard left the room furious. Monica was crying, but I, for the first time in months, felt peace, because I was going to get my grandkids back, little by little, with patience, with love. The first weekend that Danny and Valerie visited me was magical. I took them to the park, we ate ice cream, we played. I told them stories of their grandmother Ellen. I showed them photos. I explained to them, with words they could understand, that adults sometimes make mistakes, that I had made mistakes, that their parents had made mistakes, but that true love is not erased. Are you not mad at Dad anymore? Valerie asked me. I am disappointed, very disappointed, but you are not to blame for anything, and I am always going to be here for you, always. Danny hugged me tight. I love you, Grandpa. I love you too, son, more than you imagine. That night, when I returned them to their house, Richard opened the door, looked at me with resentment, but said nothing, only took the kids by the hand and closed the door. Maybe someday we could talk. Maybe someday he would understand. Or maybe not. Maybe that door had closed forever, but I was no longer going to beg him. I was no longer going to chase him. I had done everything possible, and now it was his turn to decide what kind of man he wanted to be. 6 months later, all the stolen money was returned. Richard had to sell the BMW, had to sell jewelry, had to borrow, but he paid. The justice had spoken. The criminal process continued its course. It would probably last years, but I was no longer pending on every hearing. I had recovered my peace, my dignity, my life. One afternoon, while reviewing papers in my new apartment, I found something I had not seen before. An envelope inside the folder that the bank had given me. An envelope that said, "Open it when everything ends." I opened it with trembling hands. It was another letter from Ellen. My love, if you are reading this, it is because you survived, because you fought, because you remained firm. I am so proud of you. I know it hurt. I know it was difficult, but it was necessary. You needed to remember who you are, a strong, dignified, unbreakable man. Do not let pain embitter you. Do not let betrayal destroy you. Forgive, but do not forget. Love, but with limits. And always remember, family is not who shares your blood, but who respects your soul. I love you, and wherever you are, I am always going to take care of you. Yours forever, Ellen. I cried. I cried like I had not cried in all this time. But they were not tears of sadness. They were tears of liberation. Ellen was right. I had survived. I had recovered my dignity, and now I could live in peace. Today, a year after all this, my life is different. I live alone in a comfortable apartment. I manage my businesses with the help of reliable managers. I see my grandkids every weekend, and they are better, happier, freer. Richard and I do not speak. Maybe someday we will, maybe not. But I no longer live expecting his repentance. I no longer live expecting his love, because I understood something fundamental. You cannot force anyone to value you, and you do not have to stay where you are not respected. Family is important, but dignity is more important. Love is beautiful, but love without respect is poison, and I chose to live with dignity, with respect, with peace. To everyone listening to this story, I tell you, do not allow anyone to abuse you just because they are family. Do not let yourselves be humiliated. Do not let yourselves be robbed. Do not let yourselves be destroyed. Blood does not justify mistreatment. Kinship does not justify betrayal. Defend your dignity, even if it hurts, even if it costs, even if you end up alone. Because in the end, the only thing we take from this world is our dignity, and that no one can take from us, only we can hand it over. I almost handed it over, but Ellen saved me. She reminded me who I am, and now I live every day honoring her memory, living with my head held high, with my heart in peace, and with the certainty that I did the right thing. Although it cost me my son, although it cost me tears, it was worth it, because I recovered something more valuable than money. I recovered my soul. Thank you for listening to my story. If anyone else is going through something similar, I want you to know that you are not alone, that you have the right to defend yourself, that you have the right to live with dignity. Do not give up. Justice is slow, but it arrives, and inner peace, although it costs to get it, is the most valuable thing that exists. If this story made you reflect, share it. Maybe someone else needs to hear it. Until next time, and God bless you.